Let's take a look back on Diddy Kong Racing, shall we? The best racing game for the Nintendo 64. Yeah, that's right. F you, Mario Kart 64. And a Rareware classic. This game's roster of playable characters is just so iconic and brought some of Rare's most memorable creations together to race. Most of them having this game as their debut appearance. Of course, I'm mainly talking about Diddy Kong, Banjo the Bear, Timber the Tiger, and Conquer the Squirrel. Even if some of them went batshit insane, these characters have so much charm and personality. Wait, who the f is Timber the Tiger? This is the question you are probably asking right now. And here's my answer. Timber is a young tiger cub who's a playable racer in Diddy Kong Racing. He's best friends with Diddy Kong, and you can tell because he even has a rare hat to match with Diddy Kong's Nintendo hat. He only appeared in 2 games, Diddy Kong Racing and its DS remake. And honestly, if you've never played either of these games and just saw the box art or maybe some promotional material, you'd probably just think that he was just some forgettable background character made as a one-off never to be used again. I mean, he's usually behind the star of the game Diddy Kong, and he's literally behind the fucking logo on the DS version's box art. But the truth is, Timber was supposed to be so much more than that. From originally being a flagship mascot of Rare, to having an entire action-adventure game that got scrapped, to appearing in 2 different mangas, Timber never really got the spotlight he deserved, and it's honestly sad. Let me show you what I mean. To be honest, Timber's origins are kind of confusing. What we believe to be the earliest incarnation of Timber comes from, believe it or not, Killer Instinct. Meet Kevin Bayliss, a former character designer at Rare. Some of his best-known works include Donkey Kong's Rare design, Diddy Kong, the early Kremlings before they were repurposed into DKC, and of course Timber the Tiger. Bayliss also worked on Killer Instinct, and in its early stages of development, he designed a tiger character who sadly didn't make it into the final game. We have no idea what he would have looked like had he made it in, although some of his assets were repurposed into other parts of the game. Later on, Kevin Bayliss and another Rare employee, Chris Tilston, worked together to create a platformer game for the Nintendo 64 where you play as a cat that ran on all 4s and could climb on walls. For this concept, Bayliss created an early model for this cat/tiger, and this time we actually do know what it looked like. Here it is on screen now. I should also mention that this was Bayliss's first ever model for the Nintendo 64. Unfortunately, Timber didn't make it into this game either, as that it evolved into something completely different. What did it turn into, you might ask? No one knows. Bayliss never told us. He just said it turned into something else. Those were his exact words. Now comes the inspirations for Timber the Tiger. During the Killer Instinct era, it was Bayliss's huge gray cat in the Cave of Wonder from Disney's Aladdin. During the unnamed cat platformer era, it was Simba from Disney's The Lion King, and the time Bayliss and his girlfriend went to a petting zoo and pet a tiger cub. And during the final stages, where Timber started to be shaped into how it looks like today, it was Tony Jr., the son of Frosted Flakes mascot Tony the Tiger, and mascot of Ricicles. Also, yes, apparently that's a real thing. I didn't know that before making this video, but cool. That's the end of this segment. Now we will be moving on to some real Timber development. One of Rare's earliest franchises was the RC Pro-Am series dating back to 1988 on the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's a series consisting of racing games where you control an RC car and race against 3 other opponents and collect tune-up items from an isometric perspective. At this time, there were only 3 games in the series. The original, just titled RC Pro-Am, a portable version on the Game Boy titled Super RC Pro-Am, and the official sequel RC Pro-Am 2, which might I add won the Best NES Game Award in the 1993 Nintendo Power Awards. Sometime in the late 90s, Rare would start working on a 4th installment of the RC Pro-Am series for the Nintendo 64, known as Pro-Am 64. Although weirdly enough, this game didn't even start out as another sequel to RC Pro-Am. Hell, it didn't even start out as a racing game. It originally started out as a prototype of a caveman/time travel themed handheld real-time strategy game. We have basically no information about this game, and from what we do have, it seems it didn't make it very far into development. It got scrapped, obviously, but the assets would be reused in a racing game project called Wild Cartoon Kingdom, including this tough-ass woolly mammoth on a scooter. If I had to guess, he's probably the early incarnation of Taj. The racing aspect was obviously inspired by Mario Kart. However, the team didn't want to just make a borderline copy of Mario Kart, so the game's planned setting in adventure mode was inspired by theme parks like Disney World. Development was slow initially, but later on the team grew larger, which boosted development speed. At that time, the project was renamed to Adventure Racers, and it was around this time that the project was considered to be a sequel to RC Pro-Am, which is odd considering it doesn't even have the RC Pro-Am name, although they did finally change it to Pro-Am 64. Now, what does any of this have to do with Timber the Tiger? I don't know. You tell me. That's right, he's the main character. Along with Timber, Pro-Am 64 also featured Banjo and Conker, whose games were being developed prior to this game. Finally, during E3 1997, Rare presented Pro-Am 64 to Shigeru Miyamoto of Nintendo, and he approved of it. Except for one thing. There's a certain lack of monkeys in it. That's right, Miyamoto wanted Diddy Kong in this game, and Rare hated the idea at first, but they soon realized the game would sell better under the Donkey Kong brand than the Pro-Am one. So you get it, man, you're smart, you went to school, they changed it to Diddy Kong Racing. Yeah, so what was Pro-Am 64 starring Timber the Tiger is now Diddy Kong Racing starring Oh Boy, I Sure Wonder. But Rare loved Timber so much that despite the main character being changed to Diddy Kong, Timber was still the main character of the game's story. Yeah, a racing game having a story. Crazy, right? In reality, Diddy Kong does jack shit in the game's story other than calling Banjo and Conker over to Timber's island. Yes, you heard me right. Timber has his own island. The manual might say it's owned by his parents, but this place is exclusively referred to as Timber's Island. So yeah, it's his now. And because I want to emphasize Timber's importance, this next section of the video is just going to be me summarizing the story of Diddy Kong Racing. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and relax as I present you with the story of a young tiger cub who protected his island from an evil intergalactic wizard pig. Meet Wizpig, a gigantic alien pig who was bored one day and, as one does, decided to conquer his entire home planet and transform it into a super futuristic amusement park called Future Funland. Jesus Christ, what kind of amusement park is this? Eventually, he gets bored again, so he decides to leave Future Funland to find something fun to do on other planets. While he does this, he tries out racing and discovers he actually really likes racing. Meanwhile, the Tiger family went on vacation to DK Island and left their island in charge of their son, Timber. This island is magically protected by Taj the Genie and has a bunch of different environments like Dino Domain, a prehistoric themed area, Snowflake Mountain, an Arctic mountainous type of area, Sherbet Island, a beach area, and Dragon Forest, a medieval village area. Each of these areas also have their own protectors, being Tricky the Triceratops, Bluey the Walrus, Bubbler the Octopus, and Smokey the Dragon in that respective order. TT the Stopwatch is also seen in the lobbies of each area, kind of acting as a secretary who keeps track of how far the players progress and can activate time trial mode. He also runs the Trophy Race Challenge in each area, which is basically a Grand Prix mode. And winning each one gives the player a piece of the TT amulet. While his parents are away, Timber is on the island having fun with his friends Bumper the Badger, Tipsy the Mouse, and Tip Top the Turtle. That is until Wizpig shows up to Timber's island and starts causing chaos. He carves his own face onto a mountain and brainwashes all 4 of the island's protectors, forcing them to do his bidding and hold a piece of the Wizpig amulet. While he's causing chaos, Timber and his friends call upon the help of Drumstick the Rooster, who is said to be the best racer on all of Timber's island. They ask him to challenge Wizpig to a race, and he gladly accepts. However, Wizpig seizes the power of Taj in order to turn Drumstick into a frog. As a last-ditch effort, Timber sends a distress letter to his old friend Diddy Kong. The letter goes a little something like this. Dear Diddy, help! Wizpig has taken control of our beautiful island. Please help us. Timber. Diddy Kong reads the letter, and being the good friend that he is, he comes to assist Timber and his friends. He's not coming alone though, as he invites his friends Banjo and Conker to help in the fight against Wizpig, and he sends Squawks to deliver the message. The whole time this is happening, 2 Kremlings sent by King K. Rool are spying on Diddy Kong, one of them being Crunch. The other Kremling runs away like a bitch while Crunch follows Diddy Kong to Timber's Island. Back on Timber's Island, Timber is trying to calm down Pipsy. She apparently saw Taj and he said that he would help them. Tip Top calls bullshit because apparently Taj hasn't been seen in 50 years. Then the group starts thinking about the giant Wizpig face carved into the mountain and all the racetracks that were sealed off, knowing that they have to fix all of this before Timber's parents come back and give him the ass whooping of a lifetime. Bumper says they all need to practice racing, in which they all agree and set out to practice. Just after this is when the game starts and Taj introduces himself to you and explains how to progress. Timber and the gang then go on to collect golden balloons to unseal every racetrack around the island, and then challenge the guardians of each area to a race. Those guardians then challenge them to collect 8 hidden silver coins in each track, and then race them again, and then give them a piece of the Wizpig amulet. After they have all the pieces of the Wizpig amulet, the carved out Wizpig head in Timber's island opens its mouth, and now they can challenge Wizpig to a race. Of course, since they're the main characters, they beat Wizpig's ass and start throwing a celebration at the beach. However, in a totally shocking and not predictable turn of events, Wizpig reveals himself and scares the shit out of everyone before his spaceship arrives and takes him back to future Funland. And then for some reason, the lighthouse on the beach transforms into a rocket ship that takes Timber and the gang to chase Wizpig back to future Funland. They race through all the tracks and get the last piece of the TT amulet, meaning they can now challenge Wizpig again on his own planet. This time, you're racing him in an airplane while he's riding a rocket. And once again, Timber and the gang defeat Wizpig, and then his rocket short circuits and blasts him off to an unknown planet. Brother got exiled from his own fucking planet. Again, all the characters celebrate without Wizpig interrupting this time, and the Wizpig carving on the mountain gets turned into a carving of Taj's head. And that is the story of Diddy Kong Racing. Hey, editing Almanzah here. I forgot to throw this in the story section, but later Drumstick's curse gets reverted and he becomes a rooster again. Now, before we go on to the next section, I did want to briefly mention the 2 mangas Timber has appeared in, being Mario no Balkanland and Forkoma Gag Battle respectively. In Mario no Balkanland, Timber makes a non-speaking cameo in a segment titled Go Go Diddy, where he is seen competing in a race in first place but facing the wrong way. He shows up again when Diddy Kong defeats Wizpig and the rest of the gang congratulate him. Timber also shows up in Forkoma Gag Battle's adaptation of Diddy Kong Racing. Unfortunately, I couldn't really find a synopsis of the story, and as far as I can tell, there's no full scan or translation of this manga, although I did find these pictures, so yeah, have fun looking at them. Timber and a bunch of other characters from Diddy Kong Racing also make cameos in Mario Artist Paint Studio for the 64 disc drive. You know, that failed add-on for the N64 that was only released in Japan. And yeah, that's about it. You may remember at the beginning of this video I said Timber was supposed to have his own action-adventure game after Diddy Kong Racing that got scrapped. And yes, that's correct. In very early development of a Rareware project named Dinosaur Planet, Timber was supposed to be the main character, where he would have been a time traveler and be in a prehistoric environment. Remember Kevin Bayless from earlier? He specifically stated how Timber was going to look in this game. He would have had a rucksack, fingerless gloves, a baseball cap, and a small dinosaur for a sidekick. Of course, the reason for Timber being the main character of this game is because he couldn't be the star of Diddy Kong Racing. So yeah. Sadly, there are no images of Timber specifically for Dinosaur Planet that I could find, but there are some elements that somewhat resemble elements from Diddy Kong Racing, such as this dinosaur that also happens to be named Tricky, and this unused mammoth that resembles Taj a little bit. The reason why there's not a bunch of info of Timber in this game is because very early in development, it was decided to change the protagonist from Timber the Tiger to a wolf-like character named Saber. That's right, Timber got shoved out of the lead role again. Now do you see why I said Timber never got the spotlight he deserved? Anyways, along with Saber, there was also Crystal, and boy, these characters do look familiar, don't they? Yeah, so Dinosaur Planet eventually turned into Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube. I'm sorry, I really did want to talk about this game extensively, but Timber wasn't in it for that long, unfortunately. It's a shame for our favorite Tiger Man. I decided to take a couple sections of the video and merge them just into this one section, since there wasn't too much to talk about all of these games separately. Of course, 5 years after Timber's debut appearance, Microsoft bought Rare and fucked up everything. So let's just dive into it. Timber was supposed to appear in a canceled pitch for a DKR sequel on the GameCube developed by the Climax group known as Diddy Kong Racing Adventure. Don't get it twisted though, if you know about canceled Donkey Kong games, you might be thinking of Donkey Kong Racing, which was a canceled Rare project, but Rare had no involvement in in Diddy Kong Racing Adventure. The story of this game goes that after Wizpig is defeated for the second time in DKR, he decides to become allies with the Kremlings. While Diddy Kong is visiting Timber's island, the Kremlings start kidnapping Kongs and bulldozing the forest so Wizpig can turn DK Island into a giant raceway. Diddy Kong returns and sees all this happening and decides to gather the original cast of DKR to stop Wizpig once again. So this time Diddy Kong was actually the main character, not Timber. This game was cancelled, but a leaked prototype was released for... what the fuck? Xbox. Each racer would have also had a unique special move that they could do after collecting a dark fruit. Timber's specific move would have been him roaring a sonic wave to slow down all the other racers. Now, let's move on to Diddy Kong Racing DS. Don't worry, I'm not gonna read over the story again. It's pretty much the exact same, except Banjo and Conker were taken out back, shot, and replaced by Tiny Kong and Dixie Kong. Also, Wizpig and Taj are now playable. Timber is of course in this game. Why wouldn't he be? But now he's wearing a Nintendo DS hat instead of a Rare hat. This honestly kind of felt like Rare disowned Timber, which is sad. He was reduced from a Rare mascot to just a DS one set to die with the handheld whenever the next one came out. Also, there is one major flaw. Remember how in the original DKR when you select Timber he goes like a little kid and it's adorable? Well, they butchered him. Take a listen to how he sounds now.
Hi, I'm Timber.
Why the hell does he sound like that? It's not like any of these characters grew up. This is a remake of the exact same game. Except Tiny Kong for some reason. I have no idea why she grew up and no one else did, but yeah. In the original, he sounded like a kid, but in this game, he sounds like someone's creepy uncle. And he owns an island. Uh-oh. Do you remember what I said at the beginning of this video? No? Well, let me remind you. Flashback. He only appeared in 2 games, Diddy Kong Racing and its DS remake. Well, I may or may not have lied about that. Timber did technically receive his own game, but in the form of an Adobe Flash game. To promote the release of Diddy Kong Racing DS, Nintendo made this Flash microsite on what used to be the Nintendo Arcade webpage of their website. There's a bunch of cool stuff you can do on it, but what I care the most about is... Timber's Balloon Pop, the one and only Timber game to technically release. And here it is, ready and available to play. Wow, this is very simple. I mean, that's to be expected, of course. It is just a Flash game after all. You play as Timber, obviously, in a plane that is controlled by your mouse. The goal of this game is to collect as many balloons as you can while dodging the bubbles. Mainly red balloons, but there are these blue balloons labeled numbers 1 through 4 and a couple other items. If you collect the blue balloons in the right order, you gain invincibility for a short amount of time. There is no penalty, however, if you grab a blue balloon that is not the next number. I should also mention this background music is from the track Hot Top Volcano. And a cool little detail I noticed is that invincibility actually lets the rest of the song play. I'm definitely glad they chose this song. It's definitely in my top 5 Diddy Kong Racing songs, maybe second to Pirate Lagoon.
Don't know that one, huh?
Let me remind you. Honestly, I just wanted an excuse to talk about how good the Diddy Kong Racing soundtrack is. Anyways, we have the 2 other items, the silver coin and the key. They both work pretty similarly. Getting the silver coin removes all of the bubbles currently on screen, and getting the key replaces all of the bubbles on screen with balloons. That's about it for Timber's Balloon Pop. There's not much else to talk about other than Timber had yet another redesign, this time replacing the Rare logo with just the Nintendo one. And they released this sick wallpaper with Timber on it to promote Diddy Kong Racing DS. The only problem is it's 4x3 though. Not a lot of monitors in 2026 that are going to be 4x3, huh? It's safe to say it seems both Nintendo and Microsoft have long forgotten about Timber the Tiger. And although I joked about Rare disowning him, that doesn't mean they forgot about it. In fact, they still remember Timber fondly. I know that sounds a bit redundant since Rare is Microsoft, but in 2011, Rare jokingly tweeted out that Timber grew a beard and started a hip-hop career. But what's even cooler, around July 2022, Rare partnered up with Fangamer to release a bunch of cool 90s Rareware memorabilia. But more importantly, they released the Rare Racers collection, a collection of enamel pins featuring characters like Banjo, Conker Whizpig, and of course, Timber the Tiger. And how could I not mention Kevin Bayless again? Even though he doesn't work at Rare anymore, he still fondly remembers Timber as well. It would be so cool to see Nintendo add Diddy Kong Racing to the N64 Classics library soon. And also, wink wink, it would be pretty cool to see Timber's Island as Mario Kart World DLC. I would ask for a new Diddy Kong Racing game, but let's face it, pretty much most of these characters are owned by Microsoft now, and that would be licensing hell. Timber the Tiger may have been a character you were familiar with at the beginning of this video, and I don't blame you. It sucks how mistreated he was. But I hope that today I have opened your eyes to the missed potential of Timber. I mean, think about it. Timber could have been a household name. Timber could have been up there with some of the platforming greats. Timber could have been in Smash. Okay, maybe I'm taking it too far, but you see what I mean. I really hope you enjoyed this video, since you probably won't be getting another one for 8 months. And I'll see you on the flip side.